You really need to be properly communicating with your suppliers and finding the right suppliers. It could really put a damper on your business if you do not find the right people to work with. It's going to delay things. You might get bad quality product. There's just so many things. So I am making this video to show you exactly what you need to look for before even contacting your suppliers. And in the end, I'm going to say the number one thing that if your supplier is not doing this, then you might as well forget working with them. That it's very, very important. So just wait for that. And if you want a summary of a perfect supplier and the things to look out for, then you can download my free guide. Down below, it's basically going to show you what to look for in a supplier and what to say to a supplier. So download that below and let's go. First and foremost, happy holidays, my dear friends. It is officially December, which means we are just full force into the holiday season. It's December, there's Christmas trees, it's cozy, it's cold everywhere, and basically whatever you're doing, I hope you're having an amazing and warm time. And please reach out to me and let me know what you're doing in the holidays on my Instagram or in the comments below or to my email. You know how to reach me if you've been watching me. If you haven't, then welcome to my channel. I post daily Amazon FBA videos, and today's video is going to be about suppliers and how to find the right supplier. I do have a playlist on this on my YouTube channel, but I get questions all the time of how do you know to trust them? How do you know who to pick out? Because if you go on Alibaba, you will notice that there are so many options and they could be endless sometimes. You can be scrolling and scrolling and everybody could be giving you deals and you just don't know where to go, who to talk to, who to actually give your money to. So I'm going to give you a rundown. So if you are in the sourcing process, you know exactly how to filter out the bad suppliers and really make sure that you have quality of your product and that your whole entire transaction goes very smoothly without any hiccups, and most importantly, so you can reorder from the same suppliers safely, efficiently, so you won't have cash flow issues or running out of stock issues. So let's get into it. Alright, so I'm just gonna go into Alibaba and show you the screen and really talk to you about all the important steps of how to find the right supplier. You can't just type in a random thing and hope that you're going to get a good deal. You really have to do your due diligence. And when I first started sourcing, it was a little bit difficult. I would be feeling very, very overwhelmed. I would open up, all the messages, and there would just be so many to go through, so many to sort out from. And sometimes I would get stuck where 4 people seem like they could give me a good offer and I just don't know with who to go to. So if you're actually a student in my Amazon FBA into a Milli program, this process is very, very simplified for you because I provide you with templates, exactly what to say, so you can really effectively narrow down that process when you do sourcing. So for example, if you're communicating with someone, you know exactly what to say on the first step, you know exactly what to say when they reply, you know exactly how to negotiate for lower MOQ and a lower price, which is what I teach because I want this business model to be as low risk as possible for you. You do not need hundreds and thousands of dollars or even thousands and thousands of dollars in order to see a return in this program, and that is what I teach to all my students. I want you to go in, see revenue, see progress, see success, and continue to scale that on. So that is what I teach. If you want to know more information, the link is down below, or you can just go to intomilli.com and everything you ever need is there. But let's actually get into Alibaba so I can show you exactly what I do when I begin sourcing suppliers. Okay, so here we are into Alibaba, which will give you hundreds and hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands, probably different manufacturers. So let's pick a product to source. I don't even know. Let's pretend we are sourcing for a cat leash, because why not? Cat leash. So you want to type that in and you are going to get many options. Now again, by this point you've already studied the market in your product, you know what you're looking for, so you're going to filter out the ones that don't match. For example, if you're looking for this type of leash, you might not want to contact these suppliers, but keep in mind that these suppliers may also have this. A lot of suppliers are very niche as well, so they kind of have multiple of every product, which is great if you are looking to bundle. If they don't have the same product, you can always, and you're trying to bundle it, you can always reach out to 2 different manufacturers and have with a lighter one send you the product to the heavier object. So let's assume we're looking for like a cat leash harness, right? So what is our next step? So you're going to see a lot of statistics right here, and don't ignore them. These are actually very, very helpful. The first thing I always do is make sure that the supplier is trade assurance, and also they are a verified supplier. So when you're actually typing in, they have a little column right here, filter by, and you want to tick trade assurance and you want to tick verified supplier, because that's going to narrow down a lot of choices. So as you know, if you don't know, basically trade assurance means that you can use that as a payment way when you're paying for your goods, and it's almost like a third-party escrow that holds your money in, and then the supplier gets it later. So if something bad does happen, you can dispute it and get your money back, so that's always safe. And then the verified supplier, basically a supplier just pays a yearly fee to have that tick on Alibaba, which generally means they are more serious and probably have more revenue if they can shell out the money to pay for that. However, it's not that expensive but to pay for verified supplier, but it's just an extra added bonus, so I tick those. Then I look over here. The second, and it's actually all of it is important. So you really want to pay attention to the years they've been in business, which is right here, their response rate, and also their revenue, okay? Those are very, very important things. You can, of course, look at their average reviews. However, a lot of the times they're very low, like 5 reviews. I mean, I've never left a supplier a review, and I've place multiple orders, so take these with a grain of salt. But what you do want to pay attention to is, of course, all those other factors. So I like to have a response rate probably above at least 85%. That's anywhere good. If it's anywhere lower, especially if it's like 60% or 50%, that means they're not very serious and they're not replying to the inquiries that they're getting. And you're also giving them some leeway room, because if they are at lower than or around 85%, right, keep in mind they do get spammers, they get a lot of drop shippers, they get a lot of people that aren't serious about Amazon FBA, and they just send them unprofessional messages and they just read and ignore them. And that's another really, really important thing that I want to point out, because you always want to make sure you're negotiating with your suppliers correctly. Having that template is so important, and the reason I say this is because I've tested it this way and that way. I actually had a VA that messaged suppliers, and she was trying to get a lower MOQ and a lower price, and she reported back to me and said, you know, I cannot get you a lower MOQ. And I said, I've never had an issue getting a lower MOQ, especially for an item that's not really custom. And I looked back at her messages, and she was not using templates. She was using very short kind of text form and just writing back and forth sentences. And when you do that, the suppliers don't take you very seriously. You want to present yourself as a serious buyer right off the bat, because that sets the atmosphere for the entire negotiation. And negotiation is very, very important when you're trying to get the best rates, especially when you're trying to go for that lower MOQ. But again, like I mentioned, if you're in my program, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I go through this in detail because I try to minimize your risk. But there's a lot of kind of short messages they don't respond to, and that's okay. So that's why you're giving them the leeway room, of course, of less than 100% response rate, okay? Then their years in business. So I like to, for me personally, at least 2 years in business is good enough for me. Obviously, it's great if it's like 8 years, some are there for 12 years, some are there for 20 years. It's a long time, okay? But like this person right here, 8 years, that's a very long time, and that's great. That means they have experience. That means they probably have shipped to Amazon many times, so they know all the rules. And especially when you ship out, you want to make sure that they, you know, are shipping it out based on Amazon's requirements to the warehouse, because there's a certain box weight and a certain unit count that each box cannot exceed. And if they don't know that, they can ship it in. Of course, you're gonna prevent that when you create your shipping label, so that's not an issue, but you just want them to be knowledgeable. So 2 years is generally enough. Sometimes, depending on products, there are crunch periods where you really have to give them the benefit of the doubt because you don't have many other options. And in that case, you just kind of take the risk and kind of settle for it, but of course, present yourself as a professional. And always begin with a small test order, so if it completely is wrong, then you can, you know, find someone else in the future. Then this number right here is also very important, and that's the kind of a number of transactions that they have done. So this person has done $180,000 in transactions. And then you can see, so if I were to pick between this person and this person, I would probably go lean towards this, because they have done more in revenue than this person. This person only has done how much was it? 20,000. They've been in business for 2 years. That's quite little, right? I would probably go for this. But again, if they're all doing kind of around the 20,000 mark and you can see that the product is high quality, then you probably are not putting yourself at risk. But when given the, you know, chance, like this person done over 500,000, their sponsors is 95, and they've been in business for 2 years. So that is crazy. They've been only in business for 2 years. They've already done 500,000 in transactions, and their response rate is 95%. So that's really good. That's probably a great supplier, because even comparing them to the one that's been in business for 8 years, they're doing much less revenue. So clearly they're doing something right here. So you kind of want to relatively compare them with that. So another thing I really want to mention, and this is the most important thing that I talked about when sourcing a supplier. You can have all the statistics in the world, everything can be great, but if your supplier does not do this, then you should not work with them. And this is very important, because you will have many delays in your business, and that's if you cannot communicate with them properly. Okay, if you send them a message, if they take forever to reply, or you know, a day or even 2 days, or they don't answer all your questions no matter how many times you ask, or they just don't look interested and they don't look like they're trying to make the process easier for you, you do not want to work with them. Okay, sometimes broken English is a thing, but it's manageable. Most of the suppliers have, and factories have, an agent that does understand English well enough, but sometimes there is a point where the barrier is a little broken, but that's not what I'm talking about. So that's okay. I mean, they're literally blatantly, obviously looks like they're not as interested as they should be in your business, which means that they don't care, or they probably don't think you're a real business person that is serious. And that's the one thing we want to prevent. That's why my templates are so important. So just letting you know about that. So keep that in mind. Those are probably the most important things. Everything else is supplier negotiation, and I teach that in my program. I also have a playlist where you can check out all supplier related things, and like I mentioned, you can get your free guide down below. It's going to be sent directly to your email, and all my other links. So I will see you in the next video.